I'm John Hinkle, Senior Pastor of First Presbyterian Church here in downtown Murfreesboro, just off the historic square on the corner of College and Spring. This is your Saturday morning preview of your Sunday morning sermon, which I'm doing on Friday afternoons. And I'm doing it because I just got through with writing the sermon. And we find ourselves in a period of time, I talk about this up front, which sometimes I just don't even know what to do with, because we are between two special moments. We just got through celebrating All Saints Sunday, and in 3 Sundays from now, we will begin the first Sunday of Advent. So 3 Sundays, what do you do with those 3 Sundays? Well, this year I thought we would do is look at one chapter in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25. And chapter 25 is divided into 3 sections because there are 3 parables Jesus taught. One is a parable about a wedding. The other is a parable about a master. And the final parable is a parable about sheep and goats. But all these parables have one thing in common. They're eschatological, meaning it's about the end time. But these parables about the end times, meaning when Jesus comes again, isn't necessarily just focused on when Jesus comes again. In fact, that's not even a question. Jesus is coming again, according to these parables. The real crux of these parables is not about Jesus coming again. It's about us. And the question is, are we going to be prepared for when Jesus comes again? And that's exactly what we get in the first parable of the parable of the 10 virgins. Interesting enough, I keep a record of every sermon I've ever preached. And I did a quick glance back. And remember, I've been a minister for 29 years. I'm about to come on my 30th anniversary of my ordination in June. And for the life of me, I'm sure I have preached on this, but I couldn't find a sermon on the parable of the 10 virgins. And so that kind of caught my interest. But part of the issue with the parable of the 10 virgins, unlike the parable of the master who leaves and comes back, and the parable of the sheep and goats, is the parable of the 10 virgins is centered around a wedding. And part of the challenge of this parable is that we really don't have a context to the parable that we do with the other 2 parables. Meaning, we don't usually have 10 virgins hanging around a wedding participating in the ceremony itself. Now, I did in my studies of this particular parable, this is sort of how we get the concept of, the maids of honor. We think that's, a good enough reasons why we have maids of honor is because, in the days of Jesus, you would have these virgins who would participate in the marriage ceremony. But it's not really just about the virgins. It's about what their role was in this particular worship service. And they had a lot of roles. One was, of course, to take care of the bride, but they would help with some of the arrangements. They would help with some of the details of, move chairs, if you will, or make sure the centerpiece is evenly in the middle of the table. But one of the ceremonies, remember, a Jewish wedding usually is about 7 days. And one of the festivities in the 7 days was the entrance of the groom, meaning that it was when the groom was leaving his parents and coming to where the wedding was taking place. And that would happen at night. And the groom would be on a donkey, and it would be these virgins who would have these lamps so that the groom would know where to go. Well, in our parable, there were 10 virgins. 5 were prepared for the groom, meaning they had oil in their lamps. 5 were not. But they kept waiting and waiting for the groom, kind of like we're waiting for the return of Jesus. And in their waiting, they went to sleep. They took a nap. But then all of a sudden, someone stirred them and said, the groom's coming. Well, the 5 who had oil in their lamps, they lit their lamps. But there were 5 who didn't, and they were scrambling to find oil. But by the time they found enough oil, it was too late. The ceremony had already started, and they got locked out. Well, this parable clearly is reflecting the fact that we are called to be prepared. No one knows when Jesus will will return. But in our waiting, the question is, are we ready? Are we ready for him to come? Are we living a life that he would see as a blessing to his kingdom? Or have we let things drop? Are there things we should be doing but we're not doing? So that's what we're going to talk about this Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. It was rainy this morning, kind of cold. I think it's 59 degrees now, so it's feeling a little more like fall, and Thanksgiving's around the corner. But before we get to Thanksgiving and before we get to first Sunday of Advent, we're going to cover these 3 sermons from the Gospel of Matthew. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you this Sunday.